floor is yours.
Thank you very much, and I might answer your second question first, and because there's such good examples that we've seen from these videos. I mean, the concept of a heat dome is a totally new concept that we really haven't realised before, and you know, the issue of people with disability being stuck in these circumstances is quite extraordinary. In near where I live, we experienced severe flooding, and the people who died were the people with disabilities because they couldn't escape. And these floods are extraordinary. You know, and as we saw with Barclay's example, the issue of you know, this crossover of impacts of climate change from deforestation plus extraordinary weather events brought about by climate change are sort of multiplying this effect. And then we see these issues of sea level rise, you know, flooding of villages in the Solomon Islands, and I've seen that for myself from my own experience in Tuvalu, where you're just getting this sort of creeping problem. And so connecting the sort of human rights community to these issues, the issues that we saw from Violet, and the problems associated with women being in particular circumstances as a consequence of climate change, the rainy seasons changing. These are growing and new phenomena, and we're only starting to realise the connection between the impacts on human rights and the issues of climate change. So there is a need, as Sandra and Massimo indicated, to really draw attention to these issues, you know, in the human rights field, and you know, and make that connection with the climate change negotiations and the climate change arena. And so we do need to you know, identify these issues. You know, we've traditionally seen the human rights area you know, as particular impacts, and now we're seeing an issue of a global impact affecting the rights of people, and particularly rights holders in vulnerable situations. So we've got this new overlay of a global problem. And so, you know, the human rights treaty bodies are now having to deal with this sort of global problem rather than sort of individual issues. And so that creates a sort of new perception and complexity to deal with those treaty bodies. And in the same arena, we have, you know, sort of looking at the climate change bodies, you know, there has been traditional pushback on consideration of human rights. Certainly I was involved in negotiating the Paris Agreement and working with colleagues to ensure that human rights were incorporated in the Paris Agreement was a struggle, because you know, a number of people couldn't see the relevance of that issue. And just in the last few days, having meetings with various countries, you know, who have traditionally opposed, well, my mandate, and trying to get an understanding from them of why they were concerned about that issue, I think I've been able to bridge some of those concerns. And this will be a main part of my work, I think, is to make that link between the human rights aspect and the climate change, and to get people understand that we're in a dramatically changing world, and we have to realise that human rights are a major part of this dialogue on climate change. And so we have to, you know, I've often used this sort of analogy that we've got two parallel universes. One sort of deals with climate change in the Bonn area, and we've got the parallel universe of human rights issues, and they don't often talk to each other. And that will be a major part of my work, is trying to bridge those two universes, I guess, find a wormhole, I guess, between those universes and try and bring those messages. And I think, you know, the powerful messages that come from those sort of stories of people on the ground cannot be ignored. And I think that's a critical part that I'll try and do my best to bring the stories from people on the ground into these arenas will be a critical part of my work. Thank you.